YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to the Off the Schneid 2020 NFL Preview Series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their rosters, their schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time at the channel, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check the description for links to social media for Off the Schneid. Follow us on there as well. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com for helping me to make these videos. I'm on their website almost daily, and if you're a serious football fan, guys, you need to have this website bookmarked, favorited, whatever it is. Helps me at draft time, fantasy football purposes, when creating bet slips, as well as DFS lineups. It's your one-stop shop for NFL scouting services. There's a link in the description for OurLads.com as well as the social media. Do me a favor again, hit that like and subscribe button. But enough of that. Let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, taking a look at the Carolina Panthers. Start a quarterback as we always do. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is a definite upgrade over not over Cam. Don't get on that train yet. Like, it's not an upgrade over Cam, but it's definitely an upgrade over Will Grier, as well as Kyle Allen, who started the majority of last season. Will Grier didn't even throw a touchdown pass. Jeez. Yeah, so he's an upgrade over Kyle Allen for sure. And Will Grier is definitely, he got thrown in there. He's definitely an okay backup. I don't mind Will Grier. I actually really liked him coming out of college. I really did like him, and I think he's a capable backup. He just kind of got thrown into the Wolves, and so did Kyle Allen, really. But either way, they bring in Teddy, and that's definitely an upgrade. And he's just a fantastic story, Teddy Bridgewater. I think it's awesome that he's getting a starting job again. It might only be for 1 year. We'll see what happens, but either way, they bring him in as an upgrade. And then move over to Christian McCaffrey at running back. He is the best running back in the NFL. There's no question about it. Everything that he can do, 1,000 and 1,000, 116 catches, which I will bring up again in another point. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey is the number one running back in real life, fantasy, whatever you want to call it. He's just an absolute asset to have. Behind him, though, it would be like the worst thing ever if if an injury happened to Christian McCaffrey. Their running back situation is a dumpster fire beyond Christian McCaffrey. But he should be fine. Like, that's not something you really plan for or think is going to happen. Absolutely. And with his workout routine, his diet, everything like that, I think he'll be just fine. He's a fantastic, phenomenal player. Tight end, you got Ian Thomas, who should take that next step this year. They moved on from Greg Olsen, obviously, and they kind of reset this whole roster, to be honest with you, which I'll touch on again. But I think Ian Thomas is definitely capable, and we'll kind of find out if he's going to be that tight end of the future, the tight end that they need him to be this year. We'll find out. So no better way to find out than to throw him in there and play the downs. So take it from there. Wide receivers, I think, are fine, even with the fairly limited depth. I love DJ Moore. He's fantastic. Robbie Anderson is capable. He's a capable receiver. And same with Curtis Samuel. I really like in the slot. Nothing wrong with that. You might say, yeah, the depth looks a little weak beyond that. But you throw Christian McCaffrey's 116 catches in there, you have a wide receiver one right there, as well as a running back one. So I don't really see... I'm not calling it weak depth. Seth Roberts is there. Farrell Cooper is a good kind of return specialist, as well as, can pitch in if really called upon. And like I said, Seth Roberts. So throw all that into the vacuum, and I don't see weak depth at wide receiver for the Panthers, at least not right now. The biggest weakness on this offense is on the offensive line, in my opinion. They were terrible last year. They had the most sacks. Yeah, they were tied with the Dolphins for the most sacks allowed, and had the second most passing touchdowns, which makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. He didn't have a ton of time back there. Rookie quarterback. It's not a good recipe to win games and for to put up numbers and that sort of thing. So, like I said, he kind of got through the Wolves, but it is what it is. And I really don't see them being any better. If anything, they're probably worse than they were last season. Look at their kind of losses, who they've lost, mostly on the defensive side of the ball, but they lost Darrell Williams off that offensive line. Brought in John Miller, which is okay. I'm a Bengals fan, and it's not the greatest thing ever. They lost Greg Van Ruden, which is a fairly big loss if you ask me. So they got worse, which is not a good sign, especially when you got, not the most mobile quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, but I think he's gonna be eating some dirt quite a bit this season again. Move to the defensive side of the ball. They did. I did an episode where I talked about their needs going into the draft, and defense was 100% on the forefront of that. And then who they lost Mario Allison, Vernon Butler, Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, James Bradbury, Bruce Irvin, Eric Reed probably isn't coming back. It's bad. That's tough. That's very, very tough. 6 of their top 7 sack getters are not on this team anymore. You couple that with the tackles, the fumbles, fumble recoveries, tackle for loss, all that stuff that they were contributing, it's now gone. So that's tough. That's tough. I thought they did a good job in the draft. I did give them a good grade. I gave them an A- in the draft because they drafted all defense. Every single one of their picks was on defense, and they got some very, very good players. So if you look at their defense, K'Wan Short had a rough year. I think was he injured? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I think he was hurt, and he definitely had an off year either way. I should have looked into it before I started beaking about it, but it is what it is. I think he got hurt. Yeah, he played 2 games. There we go. So he played 2 games, but he is definitely a good anchor on that offense or defensive line. Sorry. Derek Brown was a phenomenal pick, an absolutely phenomenal pick for them. Yetur Gross-Matos fell to them as well. That was a great pick. They brought in Stephen Weatherly. Brian Burns was a great pick last year and had a very good season, and I think he probably takes another step forward. They got a Baylor guy in Bravion Roy super late in the draft. I actually gave that a bad grade, but it's Baylor coaches. What do you got? They had to get one Baylor player, obviously. Luke Kuechly retiring. I can't say enough how big of a loss that is. They brought in Tahir Whitehead. I do like the draft though. Jeremy Chin, another fantastic draft pick. Kenny Robinson, who had a very good college career, but made a decision to go to the XFL. He now gets drafted I think he was the only guy to the XFL to be draft eligible, and he got drafted as well. Great pick again. I do really like Dante Jackson. I do not like Eli Apple. Trey Boston's a good safety on the back end. Him and Jeremy Chin should be just fine with Kenny Robinson as well. But Eli Apple, I really don't like. He's kind of just, I don't know. He's a serviceable guy. I mean, he's a serviceable back, defensive back, but he's not going to win you games. He's not going to shut down anybody. That's for sure. But especially in this division too, you really don't want to be relying on Eli Apple. You really don't. Even though he knows the Saints, he knows the division. That's probably why they brought him in. But I'm not a big Eli Apple fan personally. So this looks like it's going to be a tough year. I might have been generous on my prediction, my record prediction, which we'll get to in a second here. But Matt Rule, rookie head coach, brings in doesn't really bring in a ton of help. He doesn't bring in a former head coach or anything like that. Phil Snow does have a ton of experience coaching, but not at the NFL level. He was on the coaching staff for the 0-16 Detroit Lions. Not that it was his fault, he wasn't the defensive coordinator, but he was on that staff. Joe Brady is fantastic. He's a great young coach, great young mind. Him and Matt Rule, they should all be good. It's just going to take some time for the Panthers. So Panthers fans, you got to be patient. You absolutely have to be patient with this team. You locked up Christian McCaffrey. You got DJ Moore, you got Curtis Samuel. You have some pieces to build around, especially on defense now. You definitely have some pieces to build around, but it's going to be, probably 3 seasons. Like this year, they're not doing anything. Next year, they're not going to really do much. The third season, if they can get a quarterback, in the draft, let's say they're the worst team in the NFL, which is not crazy to say this year. It's really not. They're the worst team in the NFL this year, and they draft, Trevor Lawrence, Fields, one of those guys, and maybe, they might have to groom him. Teddy, like I said, Teddy might be the starter for only one season. We'll see what happens. But I do really like the direction that they're going. They got a lot of good young talent on defense. They got some good young coaches. And Phil Snow's defense was good. At Temple, it was very good. It was top. I don't know what it was, but it was up there at Temple. He had 2 very good seasons at Temple as defensive coordinator. And Baylor wasn't terrible either. So he definitely has the, and he does have some NFL experience, like I said, in Detroit. But I mean, it's just going to take a bit of time, and you got to be patient if you're a Panthers fan, because it's going to take some time before they're even a winning team. I think 2 full seasons of being a losing team, and then in the 3rd year from now, they should be able to put it together, unless they do get a rookie and he comes in and lights it on fire, which is possible too. But we'll see what happens. So let's take a look at their record prediction schedule for 2020. All right, so there's your low, high, my for the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, I might have been generous with 6-10, to be honest with you. I think a lot of things would have to go extremely well for them to hit that high of 8-8. I think I was generous. I think I'm being generous here with the Panthers, and I don't really know why. But I don't give them a shot to win this division. Not a shot. 21-1 on your money would be putting a match to however many dollars you put on it. But I think that they can trend in the right direction in a couple of years. Like I said in the roster breakdown, I think they can trend in the right direction as long as they continue to make good draft picks and build off of what they have already. So if we look at their schedule, week 1 against the Vegas Raiders at home, I like the Raiders this year. I think that they can most likely get that win. On the road against Tampa Bay, I'm definitely taking the Bucs in that one. On the road against LA, I think that that's a winnable game right there. That's a good barometer for how good the Panthers are going to be this year. I think they're fairly similar teams. Defense is obviously extremely better for the Chargers. Well, maybe not even similar teams. I think the Chargers should be winning that game too, especially at home. Like I said, I'm getting generous with the Panthers for some reason, but I think the Chargers probably get that win regardless of who's playing quarterback, to be honest with you. At home against the Cards, I think the Cardinals come in, get that win. At Atlanta, I think Atlanta gets that win. Chicago, even at home, that's going to be tough with that offensive line. You got Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn chasing them down now, chasing down Teddy. It's going to be tough to win any of these games, to be honest with you. I don't know why I gave them 6 wins. I don't know. I was being super generous. But at New Orleans, they're not going to beat the Saints this year, probably, or the Bucs, or the Falcons. They could very well go 0-6 in their division. At home against Atlanta on a short week, maybe. Their secondary is weak. Their offensive line is weak. Maybe they could beat the Falcons at home. A short week. Short week at home. It's possible. That's a winnable game. At the Chiefs, they are not winning that game. No shot. At home against the Bucs, they got a shot against. I mean, it's tough to see how they win that game, but I mean, the Bucs have the number 1 run D in the league. They did last year, and if they can neutralize Christian McCaffrey with that weak offensive line, I don't know if they beat the Bucs. I really don't see it. At home against Detroit, that's a fairly winnable game, but if Matt Stafford's healthy and they're slinging the ball like they can with this weak secondary, I think and DeAndre Swift is starting by then for sure. I think that's going to be a tough win even at home. At the Vikings, I think that's a similar team. That's a team where it's a good barometer to see where they're at, especially at that point in the season. If I'm the Panthers, I want an earlier bye week than week 13. That's literally the latest bye week in the league. I think 2 teams have a week 13 bye week. That's not a good spot to have your bye week. If you ask me, if you're the Carolina Panthers, I would want it in week 4 if I'm being honest with you. 4, 5, 6. I want an early bye week if I'm the Panthers, but it is what it is. So if they can get that win on the road against Minnesota Vikings, which is a winnable game in my opinion, then yeah, they could maybe get to that 5-6 win total. We'll see. At home after the bye against Denver, I got Denver, man. I think that defensive line is going to eat against this, like Von Miller and Bradley Chubb chasing down poor Teddy. I think it's going to be tough for him to stay on his feet in that game, to be honest with you. Same thing with at Green Bay, especially in December at Green Bay. They got good corners. The Smith brothers, oh man, I think that they have a tough time there. And then against Washington, at Washington, that's a good barometer game too. But with this weak offensive line and Washington's defense is stacked, especially on the defensive line, absolutely stacked on the defensive line. Man, that's 3 games in a row where Teddy's not going to be loving life. I'm telling you, he's that's a tough stretch, those 3 games right there, right after the bye. Good thing he's got the bye to rest up, because he's going to be on his heels in all 3 of those games. And then finish the season at home against the Saints. If the Saints are, one of the best teams in the NFL, which is possible, and they're sitting guys because they have, either the bye week locked up, which is possible, the 1 bye week going into the playoffs locked up, or they're position-wise locked up, which is also possible. They're sitting at 2 or 3 or something like that, and it's locked. They might sit guys, which they probably should, and then that gives the Panthers a possibility of winning that game. So like I said, I might have been generous on that 6-10. I think I was generous for sure. I think I should have picked them to maybe do 5-11 or 4-12, something like that. I think they're gonna have a tough time, but I mean, with Christian McCaffrey, you always got a shot to move the chains, and they did get a lot of first downs last year. They were up there top 5 in the league in first downs, but first downs don't score you points. So they can move the ball, and I think DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, their defense is improving. I mean, they lost a ton, and they're going to have to come together somehow really quick in a tough time to do it. But we'll see. So there you go. There's your breakdown. Let me know what you think in the comments, and there's your breakdown for the 2020 Carolina Panthers.